these folks just want perpetual war. Well, if that's really what you want, it will test your patience. You finally will understand why you had such strong fingertips. These are very unusual things, and people should be paying very close attention that these kind of players, but where is the media talking about any of this? Do you hear them? I don't.
Andy Schectman exposes the truth behind the biggest silver manipulation in history. Buckle up, because once you hear this, there's no going back. Something big is happening with silver, and they don't want you to know. Why are the world's most powerful banks betting against silver while quietly securing gold? So don't skip the important video, keep watching till the end, and let's listen to Andy Schectman.
Even though it is a monetary metal, it's a fair question. It's a good question. Even though it's a monetary metal, gold is the monetary metal. Gold is the tier one asset. And you can see by the central bank accumulation of silver that they have not forgotten about it, but it will not back a system. It will not be a bimetallic system, but silver is strategic. And I think silver has not kept pace with gold because silver is a far more important metal to the military-industrial complex and to the people who need it to make high-tech weaponry, is truly the way that I look at it. There's no reason, there's no logical, and you go back to the interview that you did with Ed Steer, and the first chart that he put up where he showed the largest concentrated short position in any commodity traded on COMEX was held by 8 Western banks. Why would 8 Western banks hold the largest short position in any commodity traded on COMEX? Why would they trade 3.5 times annual global mine supply, these same Western banks, largely on the LBMA, 90% paper short? Why put so much effort into holding down the price of silver is the question that needs to be asked, and then work backwards. It's not profit. There are many other things that they could do that would not be as risky as what they're doing. There is a bigger agenda with silver. So gold is the monetary metal, and silver is too. But silver, its plurality in demand is what sets silver apart from a value proposition. You have monetary demand, you have industrial demand, you have military industrial complex demand. And by now, if we can't tell how powerful these folks are, the pushback for peace is ridiculous. The warmongering, the continuing, they want NATO now. You want NATO to put boots on the ground, the UK and France in the Ukraine. Are you really that stupid? I mean, these folks just want perpetual war. Well, if that's really what you want, and you want to continue to make weaponry, you need cheap silver. And if the world really knew how valuable silver was and how scarce it would be a whole different value proposition. Some of the countries do. India, I would argue, does. And that's why they've imported, I don't really know the number, north of 800, 900 million. And why would they do that if it was just why is China, who's the second largest producer of silver in the world, going around buying Doré concentrate if they're already producing it there from the miners in Peru and the rest of Latin America, disintermediating the marketplace? Why is Russia adding it? Why is Russia adding it to their strategic stockpile? These are all questions that they don't need to be answered. They need to be asked. And it's easy if you look at that and say, well, geez, what's Occam's razor? Occam's razor say because it's a whole hell of a lot more important than the price would lend one to believe. So I would not, I understand people being discouraged by it. It's been counterintuitive. But the bigger question is why? Why has there been such a massive effort by these massive banks to mess with silver? If you look at that chart that you put up during your interview with Ed Steer, oil is down at the bottom in terms of short. And silver's way up here. It is the largest concentrated short position by a handful, 8 Western banks. Well, I guarantee you those same 8 banks have been doing the same thing in the LBMA, where they have a 300 million ounce float and trade 3 billion ounces a day. 10 times the float, 90+% naked. And that's the answer that I would give, is that it's been manipulated, not for gain. Maybe the bullion banks that mess with it figure, well, we're being told to do this, but we can make some money at the same time. But more so because the military-industrial complex has been running this country as as President Biden was sitting on a beach. It wasn't him making the decisions to, Syria or any of the other things that we were doing, and bombing runs here and military there, and all the things that we were doing, he didn't have part of. But the military-industrial complex, I argue, did. And the billions and billions and billions in military aid we gave to the Ukraine. And it's very interesting. If you look at who owns all of the military companies, like Raytheon and General Dynamics and Boeing, and who do you think owns all that? Oh, that's BlackRock. And who do you think got all the contracts to rebuild the Ukraine, where all the money will be made? Well, guess what? That's BlackRock. And who do you think is now the primary custodian of SLV and GLD along with JP Morgan? Oh, that's BlackRock. Now, it's a whole lot deeper than people think, but these massive behemoth institutions have crossed the line from, being a corporate entity into, becoming more government than anything else. In my mind, that's why silver has been held back. But you could argue that there is a realization by countries and very powerful countries that aren't afraid to stand up to the COMEX. They aren't afraid to stand up to the LBMA or to the West for that matter. They understand what we've been doing, and they're beating us at our own game. It will happen. It will happen in a glorious, spectacular fashion. You finally will understand why you had such strong fingertips, that your intuition led you in the right direction. So I'm very confident of that. There's a 90% correlation through all of history in the movements of gold and silver. They don't move in perfect harmony very often, and we've seen that with gold's run up. But often silver, as we've said before, will catch up and surpass gold before it's all said and done with the percentage gain. So final chapter hasn't been written on silver yet, but I understand it's frustrating, but it isn't a tier one asset backing a new system like gold. And that's the primary reason, I think. Most of us have been conditioned to expecting the floor to drop out once it corrects, like we saw a few days ago. And here we are right back pretty darn close to where we were before the correction. Today, gold is at, where are we at today? Let me just double check here. So we got gold up $22 right now to $29.20. Silver up just a little bit, just a tick or two at $31.82. Climbing back to where it was. The resilience is a very good word, but really what to me is very different. Again, as we've been talking about now for the better part of a month, is that traders on COMEX are no longer rolling over their contracts. Many of them aren't, and that's really the difference. That's what enables this rehypothecated system to continue, because we don't stand for delivery, so we just keep rolling it over. It's a cash settlement, it's a speculation, or it's a hedge, but standing for delivery was something that never happened. And we started talking about this in 2020. I guess I'd rather be 5 years early than, 5 seconds late. And we were talking about how there was a slow bleed down of inventory and deliveries happening at an accelerated pace, which was really unusual at that point, like an outlier. Well, not so much anymore. In fact, contracts standing for delivery have led to an open interest surge of over 750%. Open interest meaning those that are standing for delivery. I guess to me, this raises the question, why are the traders and the nation states and the central banks suddenly standing for delivery? That should be something people are asking themselves. The folks that are standing for delivery are not something to be dismissed. These are very sophisticated traders. And at the same time, another strange occurrence is that the net long position on COMEX is rising rapidly, while the short position is at its lowest since 2020. So being naked short right now when everyone is standing for delivery is akin to a mud wall in a rainstorm. Stupid, to say the least. We talked a lot about the contracts that stood for delivery last month. 15,691 contracts stood for delivery, 78.5 million ounces, second highest in COMEX history. Another 4.6 million ounces of silver, was taken for delivery on Friday, this last Friday, bringing the 20-day total to 41.2 million ounces. That's 4 times higher, at least, than any previous year in silver. COMEX delivered 50 million ounces of silver on the first day March deliveries. But where is the media talking about any of this? Do you hear them? I don't. You and I do, and folks on your channel do. This is monumental. This is the same kind of environment where, why didn't the media tell us gold was reclassified as tier 1? The important things they're not telling us. Since December 2024, over 600 tons or over 20 million ounces have been moved into the vaults in New York City. This is an anomaly for sure. I find it interesting. We've seen 28 million ounces shipped from London since mid-December, yet now they say it's a T+8 week exchange instead of T+1 day, as it's supposed to be. And the question would be, if they were able to send 28 million ounces of gold since December of 2024, why all of a sudden are there delays of manpower and of trucks? It speaks more to me of a default than anything else. And we've talked at length about the massive amount of naked shorting in London, which amounts to 90% of all the trades are paper. And so, you have to wonder, is this targeting the Bank of England? Is this targeting the LBMA? Is it not as germane? Is it not as, a lot of people say, no, none of that stuff is, it's taking advantage of arbitrage. It's bringing gold home because there are people afraid of war in Europe. It's the Trump tariffs. It's, it's the Basel III. Maybe some of that is true, but could it be more? I don't know, but it just, the spidey sense tells me it's something more. But it appears that the London market for the past 2 months has been tapped out of bars, and they're trying to scurry to get more to deliver, or they're pausing because they're afraid that that's what ultimately will happen, kind of like Nixon did when he closed the gold window, figuring they're going to take all the gold, and then what? One thing that I found very interesting is the trend of bullion banks versus non-bullion banks. So the bullion banks being JP and Citi and Bank of America and Goldman. These are the commercial banks that are the major traders in bullion. 17.5 million ounces of silver was transferred from bullion banks to non-bullion banks here just a few days ago, making it one of the largest transfers in COMEX history, but going to sovereign wealth funds, family offices. This could be a proxy for the PBOC. It could be a proxy for Saudi Arabia. We don't know who they are. Proxy for India, a proxy bank, or a proxy sovereign wealth fund, or a big family office that's set up here in North America and standing for delivery over the Globex. These are very unusual things, and people should be paying very close attention that these kind of players don't take 17.5 million ounces of silver just for the hell of it. This is way outside the norm. We've seen the same thing in gold with February contract. Same thing. Massive delivery from bullion banks to non-bullion banks. Well, who are they? They're the others. That group, the others we talked about. I'm not really sure who they are, but we know that they're not bullion banks, but they're wealthy and sophisticated as hell. And that lends to conspiracy. Who could it be?
And that's a wrap. The battle between gold and silver is bigger than you think, and now you know why. If you found this eye-opening, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss the truth they don't want you to hear. See you in the next one.